it's crazy that there's no real spoilers for either of these.
That was like probably the most wild thing. Like I said to both of you, I was like, all right, I'm gonna jog my memory. I'm gonna start like writing my notes, and then I did it, and I'm like, oh, there's nothing. There's no information. There was like a handful of articles that are like, hey, there's an escape room opening. And I'm like, okay, yeah, let's move past that. We know that there's an escape room opening. And then there's like a bunch of just like spoiler-free reviews. I thought for absolute sure that there would be full spoiler reviews, breakdowns of each and every scene and everything
At least
that is
by
in
now,
there.
like a year later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely wild. But it was tough to try to like get my brain going again, and luckily, Muzzammil, you wrote like a great like a review of it. You must have done that pretty fresh, right? Like that must have been
Yeah, I
like
did that as soon as possible because I knew it was going to happen. Even,
I
like,
wish
asking my brother, like, because he was kind of there with me. So just like,
yeah.
did I remember this correctly? Yeah.
I love it. Plus, like yeah, that was really helpful. I tried to ask my wife, and she was like, yeah, there was a scene where we did some gene stuff and sequencing, and I'm like, yeah, I got that much, and she's like, she said a few other things that jogged my memory too, but we both were like completely dumbfounded when it came to this, So, my mind, I feel like when I've talked about Jurassic in like the past few years has just like gone down like the garbage chute. It's like I forget everything. I don't know if it's like the pandemic or what, but like COVID brain. But I just can't remember anything anymore. And maybe it's the
all
kids.
like
I
a
don't
blur.
know. Yeah, but yeah, it started to jog my memory a little bit going down this. And yeah, thank you, Muzzammil, for that awesome write up, because as you were kind of going through all of the different stages of the rooms and talking about some of the ins and outs of the the story and the different like gameplay aspects, I was like, okay, all right, I remember a lot of these. Then it was, triggering it because Jay, we did this together. Like that was such an awesome experience to be able to like, finally we were trying to plan that for a while. And I know you were trying to get it situated for a while, and I was like, I'm up here in New Jersey. Like I'm gonna try to get down there at some point, and I don't know when. I hope it's like in this time frame. I'm not really sure, but luckily we made it happen for the like literally like, was it the day before the 30th anniversary? I think. So
yeah, it was something like that.
Yeah, it was that was cool. That was so much fun to at least be able to do that with you and, experience this brand new thing that I've never seen before. And I thought that was really cool. Muzzammil, what was like your first experience with the escape room?
Yeah, so originally I remember I was supposed to do it that opening month, and then I think there was an Arctic freeze throughout the whole thing, the whole country. So then I decided, let me just push this to later. So that's when we decided to go later in the year. And yeah, basically we kind of wanted to get these done and over with, because who knows when we're going to do these next. And yeah, my initial thoughts, I think the first thing was when we first entered, the smells were very interesting, kind of like the Velocicoaster queue, where it's like you're with the raptors and you kind of smell that woodsy kind of atmosphere. So I felt like it's kind of like an enclosure. So I thought that's cool. And then, yeah, when we first started the whole thing, I majored in biology in undergrad, so I thought that gene sequencing thing was a piece of cake. So yeah, I do this in my sleep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then basically going through it, I was just like, I could hear bits of Giacchino's score, and I'm thinking, oh, we're getting through this part. And then, yeah, I think overall, I'm really impressed with the set design and everything, kind of like what they did with Velocicoaster and even the newer attractions. I think they're doing a really good job with it.
Yeah. Let's bring it back. I just want to kind of take a step back for a second and actually ask you both, like, a little bit of your histories with Jurassic, and actually just throw in like escape rooms in there too. So Jay, like, what is your, kind of your own history with the Jurassic franchise and or escape rooms or anything like that?
I mean, Jurassic, it goes all the way back to I was 2.5. I've been a fan my entire life. I've been on a lot of the message boards throughout my life, grew up on a lot of them, made a lot of great friends in this community online through the message boards and through social media like Twitter. And then the rise of podcasts and videos and stuff on YouTube, and then starting to create my own stuff. Like I helped create different audiobooks for different things, or had the pleasure of being a part of several different audio dramas, like the Rick Carter Jurassic Park project, which was amazing. And lots of different things like that, which has been wonderful. And then currently, I actually work at Universal. I work in the Jurassic Park area for Raptor Encounter, which is absolutely wonderful and a dream come true. And yeah, so I'm making my own stuff on the sides as well. So yeah, been a Jurassic Park fan my entire life. And then escape rooms, I actually used to work at one in Chicago. Before I ever did one by myself, I was an actor in one while I was living there in like 2016. And that was great because it was very similar, where you were like a Doc Brown kind of character. And so you were like, hey, I'm doing this experiment. I need all of you guys to help me out with this. But I can't help you at all. I'm just going to watch you. And so it was, and just kind of like guiding it along. It was great. But no, I love doing escape rooms. I haven't done very, very many. My favorite one that I think I've ever done, I mean, Jurassic Park is Jurassic World Escape is wonderful, but not to slightly digress, these feel less like true escape rooms, I feel, at Universal than like the real one. So like I remember there's one in the Quad Cities that had to do with vampires, which was really fun. But yeah, so only here or there, but most of my experience comes from acting in them.
That's awesome. I was like really obsessed with them. Like we actually did a few around here. This was so many years ago now, because like there was a time period where like they were like a huge hit, and like everybody it felt like they were always in, like, at least up here, it felt like they were in like some random house or something like that. It felt
Right.
like it wasn't like a full like office building or some sort of place. It was just like a house,
or like an
on
old
the corner of the
church.
street. Yeah, so it was like always a weird place. But and when you went in them, you were definitely a little afraid of like how locked in here am I actually going to be. But yeah, an escape room, typically has a very different vibe. So I mean, I was kind of mentally prepared for like, finding keys and finding, scouring through all kinds of materials and things to like, to unlock doors and do different things. So this was a slightly different kind of thing. It was more so just like an experience that like you kind of go in, you're part of this storytelling, and then you move on from thing to thing. Muzzammil, what was it like for you? Like, do you have any history with escape rooms, and what was your like history with the Jurassic franchise?
Yeah, so I think start with the escape room stuff. Surprisingly, I haven't done too many, even though like I've seen loads of videos of people panicking in them. And then, yeah, so besides that, I did one in the Franklin Institute. They had something a few years back. It was interesting. It was very space themed. And I think the very first one, they had the Close Encounters theme, like where you would hear the tune and you would have to feel for whatever part of the room would make that same note. So you kind of had to coordinate with everybody. So that was a cool one.
That's really cool.
Yeah, but besides that, it's really just been the Jurassic and Back to the Future ones that clearly they're not like the true escape rooms, but that's kind of my breakthrough with those. But yeah, in regards to my history with Jurassic, I've been a fan since 4 years old. Basically grew up in the Jurassic Park 3 era. My parents did see it in India back when it first opened, so they told me all about everybody being terrified over there. Yeah. And then Yeah, so basically they introduced it to me through VHS, and I just have fond memories of like recreating the scenes with my sister and everything. So it was all fun and games there. And then basically with the long hiatus, I would just kind of really kind of look at online sites, seeing like when is it going to be happening, Jurassic Park 4. And then finally, when those announcements were happening, that I decided, let me just do some creative writing, go into that. But I couldn't really share with too many people because not many people were as interested or as invested as I was. So yeah, I was like, that's nice. Okay. And then yeah, eventually going into college, then eventually got into social media, and then uh, got into this online community, and basically through being hyped with everyone else, and even finding my own creative voice with things. It's been a fun ride so far.
You know, I love that both of your answers like really center around creativity, and I think that is just so true for Jurassic fans. You know, everybody I talk to is like has some sort of creative outlet, and I know like a lot of people say that same thing about Star Wars, and like it drove them to do some sort of special effects work or costumes, or just creating telling stories. Same thing with Jurassic. And whether it is like, studying paleontology or, anything like that, and then also doing the film aspect of it and just getting into that and writing or whatever, it's just so cool to see. Like, and I just love that.
Right.
I love that we all have this like little itch to do something after seeing this movie, It's too
It's
cool.
true. It like I can speak like personally, it's like every aspect of my life was like affected by this movie, seeing it so young. Like it was like, oh, you want to dig up bones because I've done paleo stuff also, and and that's what I originally went to school for. And it's just like, okay, so you're gonna dig up bones, you're gonna make movies, it's gonna give you a passion for acting, it's gonna give you a passion for art, it's gonna give you a passion for all of these different things. And it's crazy that like one movie, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I feel like it sparked so much, and then, obviously we made it to 2015, and we've got that one moment in time in Jurassic World that the creatives at at the filmmaking studios just really want to stick around this one moment in time. So we're gonna start talking about this escape room and the kind of the details around it. Like I said, my memory is so sparse when it comes to this. I know you both have like a little bit better memories about it, and I think we'll kind of jog each other's memories as we go along. But I just wanted to indicate that this will contain, potential spoilery kind of materials. So if you're planning on doing this escape room, definitely don't like listen. I don't want to, this to be a cheat for you. And don't cheat. Don't listen to this and be like, I know all the ins and outs. I'm going to get through this thing in 15 minutes or whatever. You don't want to do that. You want to go because you're spending a lot of money to get into this thing. You might as well like experience it in full with no spoilers and just kind of take it all in, because I think it's definitely worth it. I tried my best to really not read anything about it. Do either of you remember when it opened? I forget what the exact like date was, or when it was specifically.
I believe it was January of last year,
Oh my
2023.
gosh. Okay. That's right. Yeah, I
Like
do remember.
it went through like soft openings through December. Like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
opened in December, but it was kind of like more soft opening in
Okay,
December.
yeah.
And then
That
like
that,
by
that rings a
January it
bell.
was in full swing.
So, yeah, so by the time that we got to it, it was June. So it took,
Right.
6 months. I tried to stay as best as I could away from any spoilers. And then now trying to research it, I'm like, well, I didn't really need to stay all that far away. There wasn't really much of anything. Did either of you try to stick away from, spoilers for this thing, or did you like want to just take it in? Because I know it being like in the theme park community, I have a lot of friends that talk about like watching ride videos and stuff like that. Even ride videos you don't even want to be spoiled about. So how did you feel going into this with that kind of thing?
I was kind of in the same boat. I would look at things, but I also try to not over look into whatever spoilers they had, because I feel like Back to the Future had more because they were kind of hyping up Christopher Lloyd returning. Um, so my kind of wishful thinking was maybe we'd have BD Wong return. So that was kind of where my mindset was going. But with spoilers, no. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I actually was tasked with writing the article for Jurassic Outpost when it was
Mhm.
first announced and stuff. And so I was just like, "Ah, I don't really want to do like a ton of research for it." So I just followed like the press releases and all that kind of stuff and the images that were released. But I had the similar hopes about being like, okay, maybe we'll get like a BD Wong or a Bryce Dallas Howard cameo or something, and like all these. I really didn't want to know what to expect because I wanted to be shocked. And it did have a couple things that really did like they weren't exactly what I was anticipating, but they were good surprises along the way. They were kind of smaller surprises than like a cameo from beloved like characters necessarily, but on tier at least for me on a personal level. Like things about like certain dinosaurs appearing, certain DNA, like hints and
Yeah.
like lore
I
bits
agree.
were like or like you mentioned earlier the music, like the music cues and we're like like I remember one moment specifically like Brad and I looking at each other and be like, this is the thing.
Yeah,
And both
there's
of our
nothing
partners
like
are like, what the hell like is happening right now?
there's nothing like being in there with fellow Jurassic fans and just being like pointing at each other.
Right.
We're all Leonardo DiCaprio just pointing around the room, you know. So uh so we went in this together. Muzzammil, did you have like a group of people that you were confident in their Jurassic skills like going into this thing?
For them, they've seen the movies, but it's more like they'll be willing to do the escape room at least because I need extra bodies to
Yeah.
help me escape.
Yeah.
How many did you have in there?
Me and two others.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that we had 4 people. So there were a few aspects that like could have probably served this better with like maybe 2 more people. And as far as I've been seeing on a lot of discussions, like it takes 8 people at most, but like 6 is probably the best number, because of some of the things that are in there and everything. But I don't feel like we were very hindered or anything like that going in. And even being like, Jurassic, I don't want to say experts, but like, like just, huge fans. I don't know that it like gained me any kind of special experience going into this thing,
Right.
like it just gave us the experience of like, oh my God, they mentioned that dinosaur. Oh, like the music, whatever it was. So it didn't
It
give
gave
us
you a
like
better
a one up.
appreciation of aspects, but yeah,
Mhm.
like it didn't like make it easier or give you an upper hand on the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like in my mind, I'm kind of like, I'm going to kind of skate through this because I know a lot of stuff. But like, so as far as expectations are concerned, like, do you think this met your expectations? Like, because I know we all had a lot of hype going in. We all had a lot of, thought and expectations because Universal does great work when it comes to like rebuilding these kind of scenes and moments in films. So, was it something that lived up to your expectations with the overall experience, Muzzammil? Do you think you like had a, a good time in there, at least with what you thought was going to happen?
I thought so, especially because I think they already teased beforehand that they were going to coincide with the events of the 2015 film. So I think they paralleled that pretty nicely. Only thing I would say is that maybe animatronics, they could have added little bits and pieces of that. I felt like they leaned a little too heavily in screens, like a few others have been doing lately. So I think that's where my expectations kind of were. But overall, I think it's down to the set design. I think for each room, they made it unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. What do you think, Jay?
I definitely agree. I my biggest problem comes from like I feel like this was originally billed as like a true escape room. And since then they've kind of remarketed it as like an escape through the movie's experience kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I I can understand when people are kind of upset at the price point because it's kind of steep. kind of steep. For what ends up being out, they promise a like 45-ish minute experience to an hour, and it ends up coming out like, because the intro video was like 15 minutes, and so, and that's all a part of it. So like, for the price and the time, I kind of wish that there was a little bit more. I wish that it had taken a little bit longer, or there was a little bit more risk involved in the whole thing, because there didn't really ever feel like consequences either to like messing up, because you just kind of got pushed through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Overrides.
And there was no subsequent like meaning to the points that we were given at the end of it, you know? So those are like, before I get into everything that I actually like, those are like my few little critiques about the whole thing, is that I do feel like it could have been longer. There were definitely parts that felt, I don't want to say incomplete, but like there were aspects missing. Like there's one section, I don't want to spoil anything, but that you were supposed to be outside, and this is after the incident at the aviary in the film. So there's supposed to be pterosaurs everywhere, and you can hear them, but you don't necessarily see anything. And it just kind of felt like there should have been something there. But that being said, there were lots of surprises of things. Like my biggest one that I will scream to high heavens about is the inclusion of Bravo in this, which, like, Bravo is my baby girl. I love Bravo. I will die for Bravo. Bravo is a raptor that you can meet at Raptor Encounter. She was supposed to be a part of the Ibris team, but she was deemed unfit, you know, so you can only really experience her at Raptor Encounter in Orlando, and they tied her into this, which I loved because it gives her like more of a purpose. And that's like just kind of building the park lore itself, and I really miss that. It felt so like original Islands of Adventure to me, like that kind of inclusion and immersion like within the park itself kind of thing, and I loved it. I also loved where we had the DNA samples we were supposed to be sending off, because there were so many references in there now, because I remember being like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this one, look at this one, like not necessarily helping out with the puzzle at all, but like trying to like memorize like, oh, this are all these ones. And so there's a few, like, if you want to be like that kind of Jurassic nerd about it, there's a few like, okay, how did they get images of Giganotosaurus and Therizinosaurus and Quetzalcoatlus like before, like that, like how did they get those? Did they make them? I don't know. They also had like Indoraptor DNA hidden in there. And then the one that I'm always curious about, they have one where the code was written off. So I was like, oh, is that E750? Is that, you know, the Scorpion? It was that supposed to be like that kind of in joke. But I love the whole set, because like Bravo follows you throughout like 2 or 3 of the rooms. So like that was just, I was just remember being like, like Bravo, kill me, please. Like I'm ready. That was the biggest, like, I think I was fine with BD Wong or Bryce Dallas Howard not showing up just because Bravo was there. But like, I obviously do wish that we had gotten a little bit more of a tie to the films. I love, again, that we get, because you kind of alluded to it earlier, there's just so much that's happening right now with like this date, the day that the park falls. There's so much events that are like, and this is happening, and this is happening, and this is happening, and this is, and we got it from like 6 different sources, and they're all barely tied together, other than the fact that like the Indominus Rex, you know, is like the big thing. And I'm just like, I would like to see more like interconnectiveness, you know, or like
maybe that'll be the next spin-off film is just like somehow interconnecting Jurassic World, Camp Cretaceous, the live tour, the escape room. Am I missing anything else? There's probably something else. Like weaving them all together. Yes. The exhibition, like just somehow getting them all together in one story. That would be pretty funny. But
because they keep introducing like doctors that are on the same tier as like work directly under Wu, right? So that's what I want. I want like an Avengers style team of all of these geneticists that worked for Wu that are left to like team up and be like, we got to take responsibility for our actions now.
Geneticists assemble.
I know, yeah. Between and then that what was it? Jurassic World Aftermath. Even like I don't know if
Yeah.
any of you got to play that, but like it's that created a whole new lore that I was like, I'm playing like hours worth of VR stuff. I'm like, I can't take notes. This is very difficult to fill in those gaps. But yeah, they've got a problem with sticking with or getting out, I guess, of this one moment in time. But I think maybe it lacked that sense of urgency that you'd kind of expect from that moment in time, kind of dealing with all the issues. I felt myself trying to like catch up with what is going on most of the time from moment one. Like the first room that we went into, we wasted so much time. Muzzamill's out here like knowing exactly what to do, but we were like, we actually wasted, I think, the entire thing. They actually pushed us through, I think, that room. But like, I didn't know what was going on, and once we figured it out, we were like, oh, okay. But like, it took way too long.
Like we were like, okay, we have to match up the DNA. But how do we do it? Like, it doesn't explain like how you do it. And we're all like touching the different keypads that we're like, what is happening? And they're like, oh, you better hurry, trainee. Like, it's like, nah. But then after we figured it out, we're like, because we started off like, trying to look for things. Because we're like, oh no, it's literally just this pad. That's literally it. That's it. You don't have to look for combos. You don't have to look for that kind of stuff. Which I haven't done Back to the Future yet, but I hear Back to the Future has a little bit more like practical elements to it. Is that right?
Yeah, they have a lot more to it. So like,
okay.
One thing that I'll subtly spoil is that they do make you make everyone sing in a mic to basically open a room. I won't tell you what, but
yes.
It's
wow.
One of the movie sequences. So yeah.
Wow.
Bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've while researching this one again, I did come across a few things from Back to the Future, and I really, really do want to do that one. I almost did it my last trip, but like, I just looked at the price again, and I was like, I don't know. I think I might pass, but like, I think in terms of like we were talking about the spoilers and stuff and researching before, like. I came across some things about Back to the Future where I was like, oh, wow, like there's things in here I had no clue were in here. And like they showed off images and things before, the release, and none of that seemed to be spoiled in there. So, they did a good job of keeping some of this stuff. I wouldn't say that there was any like huge reveals or anything in this one other than, most of the stuff we've just talked about, like some dinosaur sequences. But yeah, I do wish going back to like the first room that like we had a little bit of an idea going in as far as like what we were doing. Cause I think we were in that mentality of like, we need to look at every detail of this room and figure out how to get into the next room, because for most escape rooms, you're just messing around with everything in front of you. And these rooms were very, very awesome and looked really well themed, but there wasn't really a lot of things that you could mess with. There wasn't really a lot of that, tactile stuff that you're like, let me, slide this thing over and do that. There was a lot of puzzle pieces and things that you could do for the actual, stuff, but there wasn't really many like secretive things that would like push you in the wrong direction, I feel like. So as soon as we start this thing, I'm a little thrown off, but we move on to that next room. I think it was the raptor feeding one. Is that what they're feeding?
I think.
Yeah. So. I actually like really liked that room. I thought that was pretty cool to kind of like to get those nutrients into the correct whatever it was, and I thought that was pretty cool. I had a good time like trying to get that one in line.
Me too. It also offered the opportunity for like jump scares for the first time, because they mentioned Bravo and you really only see like shadows of her until you like piss her off by giving her the wrong thing to eat, and then she like and I remember being like, like.
Yeah, the tension in that room was good.
It's that one, and not to jump ahead, but like the next, like the ones with the raptors, like the rooms with the raptors, like those were the most tension-filled rooms for me personally, because they kept inserting like those. It was the sound, it was the music, because that's when like the Indominus Rex breaks out, in the story too is that second room. And like it's like hearing that musical cue and then hearing like Bravo all throughout, like just trying to hunt you down. Like
Yeah.
just even now, like I'm getting goosebumps. Like it's like you like that feeling of being hunted, and Universal does that so well. You know, like these are like super interactive Horror Nights houses. Was it what it reminded me of? You know, it's
Yeah,
it
and
just
and
like
they do such a good job of like theming things like this, like a Horror Nights house or a tribute store. This had like you know, because they did that Jurassic World tribute store, and it would like most the first room was like all of you know, the control room kind of stuff, and it was such a great
right,
way of tying it into the movie, but then also into the theme park, like you were saying before about Bravo. Like I love when they expand the world like that. That is really cool to see, like different aspects, even with the live tour, how they were like throwing different dinosaurs and different doctors in
right.
there. Like I love that stuff. So but yeah, this one, what was so yeah, that was I don't really know too much about that room, but we brought us to this like cold storage room, that I thought that was the room that had all the dinosaur like vials and things all over the place. That was a really fun one. I was getting very distracted in that room as a Jurassic fan. So I think honestly,
Yep.
being a Jurassic fan going into this house is probably worse than not being like just having no
It's a
care for the
detriment.
franchise. Yeah, it really is, because you get distracted by all the details and, you know, just hearing the score, seeing those dinosaur names. I do remember reacting with you about like, you know, the different dinosaurs, like, you know, I think Ketz was there, right? And like some other
Yep.
ones. I was just like, whoa. And we were really like wondering about the one that was not like labeled there. And it's just our theory brains are just like going out of control at this point. But that was a pretty cool room. I had a good time trying to figure out the situation in that room.
Because I also like it is bad to be a Jurassic fan and do this because I also like I've talked about how steep the price is, but also in preparing for today, like going back over it, I was like, "Ah, damn it, I am gonna have to pay to do this at least one more time to make as many notes afterwards
Yeah.
for like Lord, because I was like, I can't remember the doctor's name who's helping you out throughout the whole thing. I can't remember specifics. I want to say, and I don't know if I'm making this up, but we're having to send the DNA off in that cold storage room. And I can't remember if they say like we're sending it to a facility offsite or to a partner offsite or something like that. Because I remember something being said and being like, are they talking about Biosyn or are they talking about the site off-site that like Wu is sent to at the end of Jurassic World? Like, you know, like which one?
Yeah, I don't think they made that clear.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was really hoping for
Right.
some insight there. I was like, actually, let me tell you exactly what happened. But do you like that room though, Muzzammil? That was a pretty cool one, right?
Yeah, basically just trying to absorb as many species names as possible. Yeah, the Ketz was a crazy one because I was thinking, Wu's been really cooking up things since 2015, and obviously much sooner because the park's been open since much earlier. And then I
Right.
was also seeing Spinosaurus in there, and I'm thinking Spinosaurus lives. Yeah, and then obviously with the tension with Bravo just in the other room, harkening back to the previous films, and then just having her kind of go up in the vents. That was very tension filled. I really like that one.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten there's a lot of like, I don't know, Jurassic things. Like vents are very Jurassic, and even like in that Aftermath VR game, there's like a lot of like going through kind of vent like places, and then dinosaurs popping out of vents. So it's something like very just scary about that kind of situation. I do remember like some jump scares and stuff. So that was pretty cool, and I liked there was some sort of like canisters, right, that like you like could take out of like the front portion. Like I love stuff like that. That was really cool. I don't know what it did. Like that was one thing where I was too, like everybody else was figuring it out. I don't know how we got through this thing, but like I was just so distracted. I was pulling stuff out. I'm like, well, this is cool. What does this do? Wow, I'm starting to realize. Yeah, I must have really like hindered you all going through this.
It was I feel like it really was our partners carrying us, because you and I both were just like, what's going on? And then we just get like guys, come on, focus. And we're like, yes.
Yeah, Muzzammil, did you have a better time at least, hopefully, like staying focused in rooms like these?
Yeah, I think it's just down to some instructions, they weren't super clear, so I think I first typed into the herbivore keypad rather than the carnivore one, so that kind of just slowed down time. But otherwise, just the usual friendly shouting at family members to get their act together.
The next room, I actually was just, and I'm just gonna keep saying this, I think, throughout the rest of this kind of review, but like the power room, I looked at whatever was happening on the walls, because there was like a diagram, there's like switches, I think, and like different like symbols and things. I think there was like, wasn't there like a crank or something to like keep the power on? I'm like,
Yep.
I'm just gonna stand over here and do this. I'm gonna, I'm gonna stay out of the way, because I legitimately could not figure out what anybody was. My mind was blown when you are all like really working hard. And that's what I love about this is like, they do give, people like me something to do while I'm completely dumbfounded. If I went in this by myself, which, I know that wouldn't be optimal, but like, I'd be like, I give up, I guess. So I'm glad that like there is a level of like difficulty, for some people that like makes it kind of hard to get through some of these things. But I kind of wish there was a little bit better explanation sometimes as far as like how to get through them. But you all like really were working really, really hard in this room particularly to like figure it out. And I was just like, wow, you got it. Like we got this thing. That was pretty cool. I like that a lot.
It's maybe the most that like harkens to Jurassic to me. It feels a lot like Ellie in the bunker. Yeah, that same kind of thing without like really anything being there. There was a lot of tension. It was dark. It was cramped and stuff like that. And yeah, I just remember it being so frenetic. Being okay, where does this pipe go? And we're like just trying to analyze every single like one of these like 60 pipes that we're trying to look at.
Yeah, Muzzammil, you said this was your favorite room, I think.
Yeah, I felt like it was the right amount of challenge, and then I kind of ended up getting it, and then just basically figuring out that you had to follow the right configuration of switches, and then basically getting out of there. I think it kind of reminded me of Fallen Kingdom a bit, just the vibes of it. Kind of felt like how Claire and Franklin were stuck in that sort of control room area, so it kind of felt similar to that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I had a lot of like ideas, and the same thing with like the tribute rooms. Or tribute stores. I'm always like, what kind of room's going to be next? Like, what are they going to add in there? And I think like when they give you, the nice clean like control rooms, that's awesome. But I also like Jurassic for being like, kind of outdoorsy and like with plants and things, and so I like when they kind of switch it up and make it like a little rustic from time to time. And I thought that room was really, really cool. I had some time to at least admire it for a little bit. But, I think that was the transition to the control room. And that, that was like kind of, well, where is this control room in the whole thing? It was a mini version of like what you saw in Jurassic World, right? It's kind of got a few, like there's like 6 stations, I think, right? And this had like, there was I believe like a 1 or 2 big screens or something, and it was kind of just basically going around and trying to figure out who had the data that was needed to move forward. And I thought that was a really fun room, and but definitely difficult with 4 people. How did you make it through, Muzzammil, with 3 people being in there?
Yeah, I think the first few were easy, and then it increasingly got more challenging. So I think with time running out, we didn't really get through the last few, so they overrid our room.
Yeah, that is always a little frustrating when you like, oh, you're going right through. All right, let's just move on, I guess. So we couldn't get it. So that was a bit of a frustration from time to time. I don't remember how many times it happened to us, but like it happened a little bit here and there. So, but that was a tough room. I feel like we were really figuring it out on the fly and having a hard time, but like we also were getting through it. I think we did pretty well in that room, right?
Yeah. So my understanding is like the more puzzles that you solve correctly, especially in that one, the more it gives you. So it's more like how many of these puzzles can you solve in X amount of time? And that, so like there's different scenarios on the island. So to unlock all of the scenarios and all of the disasters that are happening across like Isla Nublar, you have to go through them. But like if you get 4 things fixed on an island that's having a mass evacuation, like good on you. So that room, yeah, I had the same thought about being like, okay, where's this control room? I'm sure it's somewhere. Like it's fine. It's like a control room. But it's another one where, yeah, I feel like it really depends. Like there's certain rooms that I feel like if you had 8 people, you'd have like 4 people standing around doing nothing. But then there's rooms like this where literally you can have 1 or 2 people at a computer looking for all of the data that you need. And you can be like, okay, input this. Okay, input that. Like it would go like so much faster and you'd be able to get so much more done versus like, I feel like the embryo storage room, if I remember correctly, like we were struggling, like 2 people were really what that room needed to like input, drop, and send them off kind of thing. And that was it. So yeah, that kind of like is an interesting dynamic throughout the whole thing. And as you said, like it gets harder as it goes on and it's more helpful the more people you have, the more it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's less of like, I'm thinking, it just made me think of like Legends of the Hidden Temple, where like they give you like that big temple at the end, and you're like trying to solve things and instantly get through and go to the next room and the next room, which I believe was also filmed right around there too. So, but like, I didn't feel that frenetic energy like moving from room to room. So sometimes it was like, okay, well, how many of these things are we gonna do? Are we gonna solve, just keep going, I guess. I don't know. I don't really know. But yeah, but I thought this was a cool room. And at least like we had to like figure out like, what was it? Like showing us amount of park guests and different things like that. That was like kind of cool data points to like look at it and figure out as you're going along. I like that. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, same.
So this next portion, it's basically like a bunch of monorail stuff, right? Like it was like, I feel like I was confused probably in this section. But there's like monorail stations and walkways and platforms and different, I'm like, okay, well, let's go. Let's keep doing this. But there was one, this was like one where I think you had to figure out, Muzzammil, I remember reading your review and you were saying something like, I think you had a hard time with this like next monorail room, right? You had a hard time figuring out what in the world you were supposed to do, right?
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be like following the pipes, kind of like Sattler in a way. But then when I'm following the pipes, then I lose my way every now and then. And so I just kind of left it up to my brother. He figured it out somehow. So, and then the Indominus is roaring, so it's not helping. So, come on, can you just wait? Let me escape.
The pipe following was one that I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can follow. I can figure out where I'm going. At least I can get through that. I think that was the one I maybe did the best at. So yeah, that was fun. There was another room where like, didn't you have to like, I don't remember if it was like you had to like find monorail stations or something, right? Like that. Like that was kind of confusing to me, but I think we got through it. It was a tough one. Muzzammil, do you remember anything about that one?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really know which station it was, but then when we left, and then the attendant who was there, they just told us that we had to choose any random one, and that's by chance we would get it, but we didn't get it then, so maybe we just didn't, try all the possibilities.
Yeah, and this is like towards the end. Like, Jay, did you feel like you were like kind of continuing the drive, or was this something like this area kind of like like slowing down the pace a little bit, even though there's a lot going on kind of outside of you, it felt like. But did it slow it down a little bit for you?
Definitely. I felt like, because in the control room, we were all like yelling, trying to find like the details and stuff so that we could input it and whatnot. And then we step outside, because these two were kind of like adjoined. Like this was the exterior portion that I talked about earlier with like the pteranodons, that I felt like you could hear the Indominus like getting closer and like pteranodons like flying over you. And I thought for sure we would see like a shadow or like something on the outside, like sensing that it was getting closer other than sound. But it just like, it was like, follow the pipes. Like it was, I can't remember even what the puzzle was. I just remember being like, okay. And then like picking something. And then in the next room, it was the same way, because like, it's like, okay, you have to get off of this catwalk that you're on into this monorail station or something. And the monorail station is just like, okay, pick a train or something. And I was just like, there's only like one monorail. How many trains are there? Like, you know, like around the island, like where does it was very confusing. And it was just like, well, you better pick the right one. And I was like, what is this? How does this tie into the like 4 other rooms? We just like progression, like it was just kind of weird. It really threw me. It was a good, I don't want to ruin anything. The final room has a great moment, but it was very much like, I felt like the moment was built up because of the confusion. So I don't know if that was like intentional necessarily, because the only other, again, not to digress, but one of the other escape rooms that I did that was also Universal produced was a Purge one that ends like it's supposed to be. When they made it, it was like 99% of everybody who's ever done it has never escaped. Like it's basically set up so you would fail, so that you would get like the bad ending and die on like Purge kind of thing. And like that's kind of what this reminded me of, is like regardless, you're gonna get like filtered. Like the element of choice is, it's like in certain video games, like it's an illusion, you know. Like, the element of choice in all of this.
I feel like I probably had that like Star-Lord quote going through my head of like, did we just lose? Like what? Wait, what happened? Like, I don't know.
I remember because we all got on the monorail being like, are we good?
Done? Like, are we?
Like we're like, did we win? And then they're like, you got 14 points, and we're like,
is that what we got? Was that our number? I forget.
Yeah, it was 14. I was like, can we get a free drink with this? Like, which their drinks. Oh, hold on, sidebar. The drinks at Great Movie Escape are reason enough to just stop by, because you can stop in there. Just go in there for the atmosphere and the drinks, because the cocktails are amazing at this place.
I forgot to mention that, you know, to talk about the lobby and everything, but like the lobby was really, really awesome. I love that there were like costumes and stuff hanging around. I just loved the kind of like old Hollywood vibe, but that bar was fantastic. I got like the like wake up juice from Back to the Future, and I was like, this is great. And I had that feeling of like, you know, when you're around the property for a little while, you're like, I could just walk right up there and go grab it. Like I think about that drink all the time. Like I'm not even there. I think about it, and it was great. So that's one that I'm gonna keep returning back to, and just go in there and just get the drink, even if I'm not, you know, doing the escape room. Muzzammil, do you have any like closing thoughts, I guess, on the actual you know, full experience or the end or anything like that?
Yeah, I think with the end, saying that just like what's going on, and then I think towards the end, I felt with the monorail, maybe it could have looked a little closer to what the actual monorail looks like, and even, you know, from with how Camp Cretaceous models it, how the film models it, I feel like we could have done that. But I know if you had the windows completely kind of revealing the screens, probably everybody would get dizzy kind of looking at it. So I think it's okay. It's passable. But I think overall, I felt that the Jurassic World one was more enjoyable because I felt like I could understand more of the puzzles than the Back to the Future one, where I think halfway through we were just lost. So,
Oh no.
yeah.
Are you?
But overall,
Let me
like,
ask. Are you a big fan of Back to the Future or no?
I'm a casual fan. My brother's more of it, so he was
Okay.
more excited for it. So yeah.
Yeah, but you think you had a good time at the end of the day and worth the price and something? Would you? You've done them both. Are you gonna ever think about going back? Because like who knows how long these are gonna last? I'm kind of surprised maybe that it's still there. I don't know, but like you never know with these things. Would you return back to it? You think or no?
Like, it has repeatability. I just don't know when, and I'm kind of pushing it off until the last moment.
Yeah, you're like,
But I
if
really
they have
need to.
finally announced it, then I'll be like, maybe I'll try it. All right, fine. But like, how about you, Jay? Like, what's your overall thoughts like at the the final end here? And I know you already mentioned you might have to give it another go, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you are a fan of this franchise, I think it's worth going at least once. It is a very steep price, and I totally understand that. I wish that it would come down a little bit. Right now, as the price sits, it fluctuates anywhere between like 40 and 60 on the given day, and so much more of CityWalk stuff is like to go putt golfing is like $30. It's like it's within that, more of that range is what I would hope for it to go down. I know that this took a lot of manpower, energy, and creativity and stuff, but I think that that's more, especially like family affordable for these kind of things as well. I think that if it came down a little bit more, it would be a little bit more easy to push groups towards personally, especially like repeatability. But overall, it's worth doing at least once, especially if you're a fan, because you're going to have those. If you are a fan of, I'm sure either of these franchises, I'm a casual Back to the Future fan, but I haven't done that one yet. But I hear it's amazing. But for Jurassic, it was worth it just for the experience of being like, oh, like just excited. Like, especially like if you can do it with other Jurassic fans, like that's some of my best experiences are with other Jurassic fans experiencing these things at the parks. Like there's no other comparison of having that moment of like hearing a music cue, of hearing a sound bite, of hearing a name of a dinosaur or something, and like locking eyes with that person and being like, ah! Like, it's great.
Yeah.
Like that's why we're in fandoms and stuff, right? Like, and I love personally, I know it's different for everybody, and while I wish there was a little bit more like stability with the things, I love the fact that like so much of Jurassic, at least nowadays, is kind of experimental stuff. Like it's things like this escape room, it's the traveling exhibit, it's the live show, it's those things I think are where the franchise, whether or not you or the cart or Camp Cretaceous and upcoming Chaos Theory, like I think the experimental stuff is kind of where the franchise is really thriving right now, personally. And I would love to see more of it. And I would love to see even stuff like they have it and keep adding to it. Like if it's missing an element, like the escape room or anything like that, like now's the time to like add it along the way, And then that would be like, okay, we updated this. Oh, we added a new things. Maybe you want to try this again. We added more dinosaurs, or we added a new alternate ending or something like that. You're like, you don't have to do much to make it replayable. Especially like I said, I want to do it just so that I can get the information down. Because again, this is not to continue on with a point, but like we don't know how much longer we have certain elements and stuff. And like as somebody who really values like collecting all of the information for fans to have and other people to have for future, like I think it's nice to have all this, because this was somebody's creative project that they cared a lot about, and this is their contribution to the canon, and that deserves to kind of be respected in its own way. Not to be on a soapbox, but like I think that stuff that deserves to be preserved. So I would love to go in with like my little notebook and be like, okay, this name and stuff, and be like, okay, this is just for like research purposes, but like it's worth it doing that kind of stuff. Anyway, long-winded answer. I had a great time. It is a steep price point, but if you can do it, at least try and get to it once.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of wish it had that availability to like, you know, because they say in the beginning, like, we are monitoring, you know, everything you're doing. It would be great if like you could like buy a video at the end of your, you know, just to kind of see like clips or something of your experience, to kind of see those fun interactions and things. Like that would be amazing. I know why. Like obviously, like that would just spoil probably the entire thing, but like it would be cool to have like that kind of like, you know, thing added to your collection, and at least to look back and to kind of cherish those memories and those details. And I do love that the like Universal Parks really it does great things with the Jurassic franchise. They really try to like do their best. They give it the first like IP driven you know, tribute store, and then do it again. And you know that they did that great Jurassic Park tribute store, and then you know they gave it a dual bill with Back to the Future for this. It was just really awesome that they're, you know, leaning into their IP for stuff like this. So they've done a great job. I love it. I think it was great and definitely worth the time and the money. And you know, I know when you go down to the parks, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things to do and see. But like this is, if you're looking for something like a little bit extra, this is absolutely well worth it. And I had a great time. You know. So let's wrap it up here, Muzzammil. Where can people find you online? Are you doing anything? Is there anything you want to showcase or talk about?
Well, yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads at MuzZammil07. I think with current things, I'm just kind of actively brainstorming with how I can kind of expand, you know, even with that Jurassic World Resort TV that I've been doing.
Yes.
That's been fun, and thank you again, Brad, for being with that.
Hopefully I did it justice. That was a lot of fun.
Like my mind's going into maybe add a gyrosphere or something, but I know it's not in my bandwidth for animation. I don't have the time. I'm too lazy.
Who can do a Jimmy Fallon voice? Quick.
So it's like that, and then just kind of brainstorming with, you know, maybe do some live action shorts, because you know how people have been doing with Dino Tracker and stuff. I feel like we can always get some more of those kind of things leading up to whatever comes next.
Yeah. How about you, Jay?
People can find me on YouTube. My channel's name is Forever Malone Productions, and you can find all of the audiobooks and audio dramas that I have produced or been a part of, as well as different short films like my Jurassic World short film. You can also find me on X/Twitter as JMaloneX and Instagram as Josh S. Malone.
Nice. This was so much fun. I'm glad you all remembered this much more than I did. And I really just came to realize that I am terrible at doing these experiences. But I'm glad I had some good people in there with me, and I'm glad, Muzzammil, you made it through there quite well. So that was a fun experience. So I got to get back there and do back to